Hi, I'm Autumn Dryden. Today's video is an interview and fashion tour with a fabulous 70s retro maximalist fashionista. Stay all the way to the end to see her amazing outfits in a rainbow of colors. Enjoy! Hello! I'm here today with my friend Polyester Specter, aka Nikki. Hi Nikki, how are you today?
Good, thank you.
So a few years ago, I came across Nikki on social media, specifically through a shared love of the brand Fluvog, which is a shoe company that we both really like. And Nikki is wearing Fluvogs, and so am I. Nikki is wearing Mirilla, and I am wearing Venable. Well, I am such a fan of maximalist fashion and unique fashion and people taking ownership of their style in their space.
Yeah.
So what I want to do on the channel is talk about my own fashion, of course, but also just talk about other people's that are very different than mine and collect eclectic fashion, different types of fashion, you know? So what I wanted to talk to you about is your personal style evolution. Like you told me that you at one point used to be goth and now you are this vibrant 70s, a little bit of Hispanic flavor in there, a little bit of rock and roll in there. I love it. Tell me about your style evolution, like how you came from little baby Nikki all the way to who you are today.
I had always been very attracted to sort of the goth, scene as clothing and, music especially. That's kind of the thing that got me in it as a musician was the music that got me in it. I've been a Cure super fan since I was like 9 years old, which was 1.5 million years ago. Right. Yeah, in a different timeline as well. And so that kind of got me in through the door. And, you kind of love the music. You kind of start to look like it as well. So for many, many years, I was goth adjacent because, Geminis never do anything 100%. We're always kind of like, we dabble, we kind of mix styles. So I would say for the sort of the majority of my, teens and adulthood, I was like, gothabilly, right? Sort of like a little goth, a little rockabilly, a little psychobilly, a little something, something, little horror kind of mixed in. And I did that forever and it was fine. And I don't know, I turned 40 10 years ago. And I've always also been, because again, Gemini, I've always been a lover of 70s style and 70s music. And I love disco and I love the 60s and I love that, Baroque bubblegum, psychedelic music. And so I like a little bit of everything. And I just found that I kind of, when I turned 40, my style started sort of transforming into more 70s, 60s kind of look. And colors came. Like I will only do like a little pop of red and a little pop of green or something here before, but I've gone full blown rainbow. Colors that I used to hate, like brown and orange and yellow, are the colors that I wear the most now that I absolutely love. And I don't know. And as I get older, as I just turned 50, as I get older, I kind of like old, the older my style gets and like the older the focus of my music gets. And, my apartment also reflects now my new mid-century modern 60s kind of things. I felt like it was a very natural progression, strangely enough, because, Gemini. It felt very sudden to some people, but to me, that nugget had always been in my head since I was little. I don't think I knew how to get there until I was older. And then once I was older, I kind of figured out that, oh yeah, I'm just going to do my own thing again. So again, I'm not a purist. I'm not wearing vintage right now. I do like some retro stuff. That modern retro is totally fine by me. And I like mixing my styles again. And I just do whatever. I did the goth thing for long enough, 30 plus years. And now I just want to live my Mrs. Roper truth.
I love it so much. And I've seen pics of your guitar wall and stuff. I love it. Yay. All right, can I see the closets?
Let's see the first closet, which is like the super exciting closet.
Oh,
one closet.
Well, it is exciting because it has those gorgeous coats that I always see you wear.
Yeah. All my Jeffrey Campbells are in here. Like
oh, yes.
Of my shoes. I actually have as many Jeffrey Campbells at this point. It's almost full.
I love those green florals with the daisies. And the stars.
Those are my bass cases, my keyboards, all my instruments are up there.
Yeah, and you're in bands, right? Oh,
Yeah.
that's so cool.
But they're all the same. They're all like these. They're all this the Sopranos.
Mm-hmm. This is beautiful.
Thank you.
I've admired your style for years, ever since we became Facebook friends, and thought it was so neat that I was coming out here anyway, and I was like, well, while I'm here.
Oh yeah, I had a thing for Swatch. Well, I have a thing for Swatch watches. So I actually had almost 600 Swatch watches. I am down to maybe like 250 because I've been pretty good about selling them and stuff like that. So yeah, I love Swatch watches for almost the same reason that I like Fluvox, because they have names and they have families.
Right.
They all have names, and I remember a lot of them. But my memory, like ever since menopause, my memory is just out the dough. And then my wall of
Oh yeah, you get a better perspective of this wall.
Yeah, I love that bookshelf. This apartment has gone a complete overhaul. Like, everything is different. Everything except for the bookshelf.
Well,
Bookshelf is the only thing that's
iconic.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted like a lighter wood one, but honestly, it weighs 1,000 pounds.
Right.
It's really hard to build. I built it, I've been here for 15 years, so that's the only thing that's the same. I completely was black and green.
And now you've warmed it up into the 70s.
Yeah, and then the green kind of like worked for the new aesthetic anyway.
You just said that you wear modern vintage, like recreations of vintage, as opposed to trying to go for actual vintage. Because as we know, actual vintage doesn't necessarily accommodate voluptuousness as much as we would prefer. Why don't you tell me some of your favorite brands and how you discovered them, and talk us through the types of things that you have in your wardrobe.
I do have a lot of authentic 60s and 70s vintage, but they're really hard to find, and you have to look daily because there are, of course, a bunch of other people looking for the same thing in the same sizes. So you kind of have to become like an expert sniper on eBay, unfortunately. But I do have about 200 maybe true vintage dresses that are in, some semblance of fitting me right now. But they are hard to find. The good thing about them is that they do last, right? The fabrics back then were much more durable. Polyester will last forever. Like they're like the cockroaches of fabrics. It will last through a nuclear bomb. So I have a bunch of that. But the new sort of retro modern, right? Retro stuff. This particular dress comes from Joni Clothing. So Donna Porter and Joni Clothing did a collab, and I have about 8 of those dresses. They're amazing, and they're fairly size inclusive to a point. They go 3Xs, I believe, and it's a size 18 that I'm wearing right now. So they run actually slightly large, almost like Old Navy sizes. And even Old Navy, sometimes they'll put out some really cute retro, either prairie dresses or something that's a little, kind of disco, kind of rockish. So I have no shame of where I find it. If it fits and if it's a look that I like, it doesn't matter to me. I'm not going to be a snob about where it comes from. So Joni Clothing is a really big go-to for me, as well as Unique Vintage, which I think is like unique-vintage.com. They're really retro, size inclusive, and beautiful retro stuff. I believe they do like 40s to the 70s. So I found a lot of pieces there, but mostly has just been kind of like finding the random thing here and there and making it work to your style. Even if it's not something that's specifically retro, if you retro style it, you can get away with it, right? So like the hair, the makeup, the accessories. So even like a regular modern piece can be retrofied to a point. And I love a Fluvox. They have a lot of shoes that are very retro friendly. Jeffrey Campbell's as well. I love me some Jeffrey Campbell's. Their shoes are very 60s, very 70s. If you can find it.
Thank you. That's exactly what I meant. And yeah, what I'm going to do is probably put links to any of the brands that Nikki's talking about in the video so you can check them out. So another question that I wanted to ask is, how does it make you feel to wear clothing like that? Does it make you feel empowered? Does it make you feel more confident? Is it just more comfortable? Like describe, maybe compare and contrast wearing a t-shirt with wearing one of these vintage dresses.
Yeah, for the record, I don't own t-shirts. It's just the whole crew neck thing. I can't with the t-shirt. It just makes me feel like me. It makes me feel like the outside is matching the inside, right? And especially when we have all this talk about sort of gender expression and stuff like that. this is sort of my expression of how I feel, I guess. And my head is always kind of living in some sort of like 70s, you know, sitcom. So it kind of makes sense that I would dress like this because it just fits what happens in my brain. Where do you want to belong, right? Where do you want to be? When I was sort of more goth and it was about the music for me, and I still actually do go to goth clubs looking like this because I don't get on. Yeah. But yeah, it just makes me feel like me. Like I am yelling what's in my head outwardly, but without saying anything. And that is strangely something that I need all the time. And I think people who are of alternative scenes have that kind of need to be seen as who they are on the inside, regardless of what's happening in style. I mean, I had this one lady on Facebook trying to be derogatory towards me, and she was telling me that my eyebrows are dated. And I'm like, well, yes, they're dated. You know, they're kind of 60s, 70s. So yeah, they are dated. Like, you want me to look like a Kardashian? That wouldn't go with the rest of it. Doesn't make sense for me to try to put a modern face to a retro style. It just doesn't work for me. And then, you know, to have anybody gatekeep a certain style or you're not pure enough, just do what you want, what makes you feel good, mix those things, mix those patterns, mix those colors. If you feeling like you're truly representing who you are on the outside, it doesn't matter. There are no more rules anymore. You don't have to look a certain way. You don't have to appease anybody, you know, and that's always been my thing. I've always kind of appeased myself, always. How I look is only important to me. And I don't really care if it's important to anybody else. And it's nice when it is, when other people like it. It's lovely that they can enjoy it. But, you know, if you have your haters and you just, it doesn't bother me at all.
I feel the same way, that once you've discovered your authentic self, everything else falls away, and who cares what anybody else thinks? And guess what? When you don't care what other people think you're cool. Bathroom is really cute too. Do you have those 70s canisters with the mushrooms that everybody's collecting? They were really cool, like, you know, flour and sugar.
I have some of the, and there's that giant mural, basically mushy mural. That's really awesome. And these are Avon. There used to be like all kinds of scents and powders and nonsense in there.
That's fun.
Yeah. I mean, even my toilet, like, I'm ridiculous. Yeah. I replaced the lid to have, like, the yellow one with the thing and the thing.
I think it's attractive to people that you aren't trying to please them, that you aren't insecure enough to need the approval of other people in order to express yourself. Screw that. You don't need anybody else's approval. You look gorgeous as yourself. And I think that that really shines through. And it's neat that you are so good at expressing yourself, because just meeting you for the first time in person, I'm so excited. I mean, I can just tell a lot about you just because of, you know, the space that we're in and because of the clothes that you're in. It tells me a lot about you. And one of the things that I can see about you is that you're a really, really awesome person. So you've been giving a little bit of advice, which is great for people who maybe aren't there yet. Maybe you don't yet have your own style expressed, and maybe you don't yet know who you are. Do you have any tips for people who are still trying to figure that out about themselves? Or have you just never struggled with that?
You know, I can't say that I have struggled with that. And I have intimately and always exactly known who I am, and I've never compromised that. I mean, even as a kid, even as a 8, 9, 10-year-old, I wore what I wanted to wear. I didn't care what my mom thought. I didn't care what my aunts thought. I didn't care what my grandma thought. I wasn't ever cajoled or forced or you know, arm wrestled into doing anything I didn't want to do. And I've always kind of held to my guns very, very tightly. My style, I feel like it's defiant, honestly, to a point. You know, I like being defiant. And I don't know if that's like a Gemini exclusive thing. I've always been very, very me. I had a very difficult childhood. And I think that when you are forced to take care of yourself, and I was, you know, kind of neglected slightly as a child, but that kind of gave me like a weird power and a lot of body autonomy. Owning who you are, not just inside, but your outside as well. Like, I am very self-possessed and I'm incredibly self-centered and selfish. Other people would say that, right? Like, if you don't devote yourself to someone else, or you don't kowtow to tradition and you don't appease people, then you're considered selfish and self-centered. But that's not true at all. Like, I am not selfish and self-centered, but the fact that I put myself first, that I am number one in my universe, to other people, that might seem that way. especially the people who are trying to manipulate you and trying to get you to fit in a certain box and be who they want you to be, or be who they think that you should be. I've always been kind of defiant in that sense. I don't know if it's because I'm from New York, or if it's a Gemini thing, or if it's a Dominican thing, but yeah, tradition be damned, when anybody else be damned, and I've kind of always been that way. So, but I think that if you're trying to find yourself, is define yourself by your actions, right? So what kind of person do you want to be? And then make the decision to try to be that person. And it's kind of how they say in acting, so you smile first and then you feel it. It's kind of that way. You kind of have to pretend to be the thing that you want to be, and then it'll kind of, eventually you are that thing. You become that thing that you want to be. Because it is just a matter of deciding it, right? Like, that's it. Like, I used to be shy, and then I was like, well, that's a waste of time, you know? You're not going to get anywhere being shy. So I just decided to not be shy, and then I wasn't shy anymore. So it is really, truly that simple. You would think that it's a lot harder, and it's not. Like, be the person that you want to be. Be the person that you think that is the best expression of yourself. And you are that person. You think it and you become it. It really is kind of that stupid simple.
That is so true. I used to be very frumpy. I was a stay-at-home mom. I had health issues. I was bedbound for like 7 years and hardly left the house, and wore hand-me-down t-shirts and sweatshirts that people gave me from church. I mean, it was bad. And one day after I got divorced, I was like, I don't want to be that anymore. I want to start over. This is a new beginning. And I visualized a successful, confident woman who had a lot of style. And I was like, well, I have no idea how to be that person, but I can method act. And I'm going to pretend that I'm this confident person. And when I'm encountering a choice, I will say, what would Autumn do? What would that confident person do? And then I'll do that. And it only took a couple of months before pretty soon it was just, I didn't have to think about it anymore. I wasn't even trying. I just became that person. So yeah, that is the best advice. That's amazing.
And we came to look at this apartment, and this door was open, and it opens to here, right? So we looked at the apartment.
You didn't even notice that.
And I was like, eh. And right as I was leaving, I was like, what's behind here? And I was like, oh, what the shit? Yeah, so that's the closet.
Oh my God, yes. Let me bask in the glory.
Most of my 3 dogs live in here. No, all of them, actually. Yeah. But they're mixed in with a lot of Jeffrey Campbell as well. My monster bookshelf.
Yes.
All monsters all the time. Way too much jewelry. I have 70 more Swatch watches sitting in here, but I actually wear them fairly frequently.
There's nothing wrong with that. This is like an altar of jewelry.
And then the same thing, I use the same paneling from the doors to cover the bookshelf, the shelves. And then I use wallpaper fronts.
Thank you so much for this time and for allowing me to see your lovely home and for inviting me here. I'm so excited that we finally got to meet in person, and I'm looking forward to, maybe bumping into each other again in the future. We'll see. Who knows what life holds for us.